Okay, Purple Gums. I'm not going to start with what I thought I was going to start with because I sat down, and you know how guys do this when they sit down? What's that about?
Well, let's put in all the things in their proper place so they won't get scrunched.
Ah, is that what it's about with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Because nothing I have to worry about getting scrunched is down there. Okay, so Bobby asked, he put forth the suppositional situation of Purple Gums playing 9 shows in a row, 10 shows, night after night after night, and how that would affect us. For me, that would be the best situation. I like repeat performances. Now, with us, it would be a repeat just in that there were 10 days. We wouldn't be playing the same thing. But in terms of what I expressed earlier about do I have enough to say to do a show? After show 5 or 6, it wouldn't matter to me anymore. Mm-hmm. I know myself this way, you know? And so the best thing for me in terms of my aesthetic would be like 20 shows in a row. Because at that point, at some point, and I think it would be like show 4 or 5, it just wouldn't matter, you know? Now, if they were all to the same audience, that might be a little different. But I assume they wouldn't be. And for me, it would just free my headspace where I just wouldn't care, you know? I wouldn't care. It would be the very best thing in the world for me. Yeah.
Well, the first thing I would think about, of course, is chops. I would tend to get better unless we overdid it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't mean creatively necessarily, but I'm just talking about just meat against brass. Every night I'd get stronger, which is something to think about. Even when we play, and our first consideration when I'm getting ready to do something is with boxing, what round is this? Then where are we in the 3 minutes? You see, and I'm sure to a certain extent the tuba too, but maybe more in the trumpet. That's irrelevant, I guess. But I would think about there are things that when we were playing together, I got something I would like to do. I said, well, you know, that's not going to work because you can't play it. You ask yourself a question that you want to answer here, and you can't play it.
Yeah.
So that means that you see now that doesn't mean that somebody if that like saxophone's easy. You can play anything on it anytime you want. That's not true either. But what I'm after is that'll be a consideration. But the next thing is that I think about too, if we're talking about in terms of priority, is would I get self-conscious like you sometimes do when you play a solo concert? You know, I've probably played 10 solo things in my life, and the thing you fear most is in your own head.
Yes.
You know, of getting self-conscious, and I work to keep self-conscious about you and the audience. And so I got to keep that from creeping in. You know, see, like when we play tomorrow, there's no way I could be self-conscious tomorrow, no matter what happens. It's a totally new space, so to speak. I haven't been there to remember anything, and I would be worried about or concerned about them. Wow, is this old or is this fresh? You know, because there's no way it could not be after all this time space between the time now and the last time we played.
Right. Yeah.
You know. But the first thing, of course, would be just the physicality of playing, which I would like a lot. You know, when I've played, 9 nights in a row, it's been a long time. You know, but then the next thing, of course, is since we do what we do, and we try to, we just ride in the crest of the moment. And if there's no crest there, you got to try to make up a crest. You see, so but we're pretty good at that. But 9 nights in a row. But now, you said a minute ago for the same audience. It's rarely possible that we play to the same audience, 9 nights in a row. We might
Yeah.
play the same venue, maybe play. It'd be a
Right.
different crowd the next night, but I see where you're coming from there. But I'd be interested to see where we took this, you know?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry about that. I said, no, let's see how will we deal with these problems as they appear, if we can call them problems. Just about because we don't have anything. See, it's like if we're playing a music that there's a prescription, meaning some chords. We can say, well, it's like I say to students sometimes. I play Charlie Parker and I play Ornette Coleman. Then I always set up the proposition. So we got Ornette Coleman over in this corner. It's just Ornette Coleman and a bass player. We got Charlie Parker over in this corner playing. It's just him and a bass player. You know, tell me how they might be different. You know, and some people say, well, you know, Ornette, he doesn't play in time. I say, yeah, he does. You haven't been doing your listening assignments, have you? See, he plays in time.
Yeah.
And he relates to the quarter note beat. You know, so does Charlie Parker. We just took the piano away from Charlie Parker. So Charlie Parker's still going to be playing chords, isn't he? I'm saying to the guys, yeah, I agree. So how do you know that? Some guy said, well, we can just sense the groupings. Sometimes Bird would, of course, intentionally take you off the place where you didn't get the 8 bars. But by and large, he's playing rhythm changes. You sense when he gets to the bridge and when he comes down.
Right.
Well, what about Ornette Coleman? So we don't. Here we go now. Charlie Parker comes with a prescription, but what they have in common is Ornette Coleman has an emotional prescription. So does Charlie Parker. But Charlie Parker's also got now a roadmap.
Yeah.
Which means now Ornette Coleman's going to have to be a little bit more resourceful in a way, if he wants to project it to the level that Parker does. I'm saying that it's not like Charlie Parker's better or Ornette Coleman's better. We're not talking about it that way. We're just talking about the difference between a painter of 300 years ago and one of today. It's not like you can paint better because you got better brushes or better paint or better canvases. That's meaningless. These guys, one playing, and you don't know what the head was. When you walked in, they were playing. And I'm trying to set this up with some people in the class are music students. And so one guy used a phrase that I thought I've written down. He said, we could follow the curvature of Charlie Parker solos. Well, with Ornette music, it was sporadic. And I thought, good, son, I'm going to use that. You know, and what I'm getting after is that we come to this with a prescription, but it's none of those, right? And we're writing the prescription as we play. I get the feeling that we're listening like hell for an avenue. It's like you said about a minute ago. Francis somehow sets things up, will give us a platform to work on. But you have to recognize that, don't you? Yeah. And so the 10 nights in a row, you think, well, Francis, where's the platform? I said, well, maybe it's your turn to give up the platform.
Yeah.
You know?
I've done my job.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying is we have to be resourceful to the extent that we've given up something to try to get something else. You know? It would change everything here if we had a string bass player with us, still playing free. Because the bass player would often be tempted, you see, to do the bass like we traditionally hear it. You know, you ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
Right.
And so all these years, the bass players I've used, with no disrespect to these guys in the LA Basin, I have yet to get one that really listens to what I say when I say, I don't want you to keep time, but I want you to have the sensation now of keeping time, but I don't want you to play ding, 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 ding. And so when I'm playing this melody, it goes blah, 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 blah. I want you to broadside me. And I've yet to have a bass player to get what I meant.
Well, you're asking them to do something against their nature.
Yeah, right.
And their nature may be for 50 years. They may be 50 years old, 60 years old.
But you see, but there are moments when it happens. But I'd like to be able to say to a bass player now, on this is what I'm going to be playing here, and I'm going to vary it every night. But I want us to play together. But I don't want you to back me up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm backing you up.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Sure.
And I mean, that got off the track of where we were about these 10 nights, but I think that would see if the concept will hold water, so to speak, over a 10-night period. And we just reach deeper into our spirits,
Yeah. I have a related question. I don't know how much it pertains to you. If it does, let us know. Definitely pertains to you. The reason I have this question is tomorrow, when we perform tomorrow, I may use a different tuba in a different key. I've used it with us before, but it's been a long time. It's when we played in Chicago. It will make a difference. I already know it's going to make a difference with what I play because I have different facilities.
Yeah, enough said about it. I can relate to that right away.
Yeah.
It's like if I came to decide I was going to play a piccolo trumpet.
Yeah.
You may not be thinking about that, but you see, that's a totally new ball game, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So you change most often. I mean, you have your tenor, but you haven't always, for reasons, whatever. How much difference does it make in what you do in our performance if you're playing if what you brought is a soprano or an alto?
Well, I think it's kind of related to what Bobby just said about, am I backing you up, or am I, there's like, because I think that hierarchy, we shake it up in this group, because it's like, well, we could just say, well, the trumpet always leads, but the cornet doesn't always lead in this band, right? Because sometimes you lead, and so there isn't that kind of hierarchy, which is kind of associated with Western music in this band. Although we're familiar with that and we can do that.
Yeah.
But we're also able to disrupt it in that sense.
Because the thing is, if I take the horn I'm thinking of taking tomorrow, I already know I'm going to have to fight against being more functional, like you're talking about a bass player, And the only reason I take that horn tomorrow is because tomorrow's Fat Tuesday. Now, for some reason, that matters to me, that it's Fat Tuesday. I have concepts about Fat Tuesday.
Is something you want to share about Fat Tuesday? I mean, is that something that you want? See, I'm so ignorant of that, other than the Mardi Gras being this big celebration, but
well, they have brass bands, and it's that brass band thing. And the tuba I take tomorrow is what I'm more comfortable playing that music with.
Yeah.
Because of things that have happened in my life in the past 5 years, And if I want to make a less abstract nod towards what tomorrow is, I would take that particular tuba in case there was a moment when I wanted to go that way, which you guys might not want to do. Who knows? But this is, when we talk about we show up, we don't know what we're going to do, this is true, but it's also true, at least with me, where some things matter and I react to them, so I may take.
Well, the sonic space is different.
Yeah.
When you play the bigger tuba versus the travel tuba versus the, what's that called again?
Chimbasso. Which I've never used with this group because Bobby Bradford doesn't like the chimbasso.
I thought you were just renting that. You actually bought that?
But I think the sonic space is different and the platform is different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times the way I kind of relate to it is like, can I fit inside that space, or am I outside of that space.
Mm.
That's how I kind of relate to it. So that's kind of, so I kind of see it about it, kind of, if you will, the platform is different.
See, I don't think we would ever have started this group if you were a French horn player. That wouldn't have worked right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
For all kinds of reasons.
Oh yeah, just innumerable reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see, or if you had been an oboe player,
mm-hmm.
or even a clarinet player, unless you were going to play bass clarinet and a regular clarinet,
Mm-hmm.
just based on the sonic,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, you
Right.
know. That's why it's strange how this took off. You see, someone say, well, somebody up there who's orchestrating all of this said, well, yeah, you guys will finally make your way
Mm-hmm.
together with the tuba and the saxophone
Mm-hmm.
and the trumpet. And we've also come to appreciate each other's sensibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry that you're going to take off your clothes and run down the hallway screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would
worry you.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't work. I know they'd call us again next year. Make sure you have that Asian guy with you when you come next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some kind of destiny involved in that, or destination.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it's almost like there's a different color. The group has a different color with those different tubas.
Well, yeah. Well, they would. They would. Same with the saxophones. If you played soprano sax,
That would take it, if you played exclusively the soprano sax,
Yeah.
that would take us to a totally different place.
yeah. When I played this tuba with us, I was concerned because I usually don't do this kind of free improvisation on that tuba, but it worked out okay.
Uh-huh.
You know. It
When
worked
did
out
you
okay.
play it?
In Chicago, when we played in Chicago
Oh,
at the festival.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was easy to travel with. That
Mhm.
was before the travel tuba.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Just in the spirit of Purple Gums and acting in the moment, I'm not seeing that tuba in this room, and it's supposed to be in this room. It could just because I don't have glasses on, but there's only one tuba over there that it could be,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't look like that's it. So I'm wondering where the hell that tuba is. Yeah. That's pretty pathetic. So we have been playing a lot in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't play a lot last year for reasons we won't go into. But I think it has made the group visible in a way it wasn't before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, the group has always had a good reception from the public.
Mm-hmm.
People seem to be kind of into us being there.
Mm-hmm.
But playing often, I mean, it's not 10 nights in a row,
Mhm.
but it's
Yeah.
been a role,
Mm-hmm.
that we've been on. And folks are kind of excited, and I think it's unique because we each are unique and we each bring different things to it. And as you said, I think there's a little bit that folks wanted, they want to see that happening. And we've been asked to play.
Mhm.
That's different from,
Hustling.
yeah, that's different from hustling.
Oh,
Yeah. We've been asked to play, and that's, interesting to me. And we've been asked to play at places, like I was speaking about before, where what came before us and what comes after us is very different from us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, those are jazz groups. Now, I consider us a jazz group, but with a capital J, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, capital A, capital Z, in the sense that it's improvisation. It's improvisation. And like you gave the example of the two horn players, you know, they're still improvising. They're in the big stream of, they're in the same big stream, but they're tributaries. So that's kind of what, yeah.
Well, you know, it means a lot to have somebody call and say, well, would you come? And it's not like they don't know what they're asking for.
Yeah.
You know, more often than not, I think when people come to hear us play, there's a certain percentage of the audience don't have a clue. They just stumbled in or came with somebody.
Yeah.
But somebody out there came looking to, let's bring out that platypus, right?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
You know. You know, I don't know what made me think of this tonight, but when I was talking about Charlie Parker in one corner and Ronnie Coleman in another, I, you know, have students in this class now who didn't play in the high school band, they can't read music, don't play any instrument, but they like what they hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so with a class with students in it, there may be 2 or 3 students in music where the word timbre has no meaning for them at all. And when you say, well, you know, that's the color, and they say, well, what color is it? Somebody will say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're in the wrong room.
Mhm.
Jokingly, you know what I mean? Where with music students, and so where I'm headed on that is, excuse me, we come under the heading of jazz, even if somebody says, well, it's just a splinter off jazz. Because I often say to students, when we start talking about what does swing mean now, the verb, how do you make this thing swing? Like with the earliest New Orleans bands, even when they were poor players, now, they had discovered this rhythmic sensation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where the music's generally in 4,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 6/8, but most often 4. And they already figured out where they enter the time stream, time continuum, to play these pitches to give you that sensation,
Mm-hmm.
which defies, you know, any kind of real definition for. So, but then I said, well, now I'm going to have to eat this in about the 12th week here, because I'm going to put on interstellar space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, now, what has happened there is that now we have redefined the word swing
Mm-hmm.
as a verb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that, because I know some of you are going to say, well, you said back there in the first week, this was a time steady beat there, and you go in and out and you create. I said, yeah, but then now we're doing this. But I always qualify that, say I'm going to have to eat all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody would, I've had people say about this band, so well, this shit don't swing. I said, well, what do you? Of course, I know where they're headed there. Then I go, well, tell me what you mean by swing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know. I said, when I say that's a wrong answer right there. Tell me you know. I said, I want something much clearer than that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by you know? She said, well, it's a certain feel. So what do we have to do to get that feel? So then when the subject comes back to John Coltrane, I said, now he's not playing in the time continuum like Louis Armstrong did on some day. I mean, when the Saints go marching in. But he's created these little, what word I use for it, little cells,
Mm-hmm.
who in themselves swing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, well, what do you mean by that? So I play, you know, the one where he starts, he goes, and then he just starts to expand from that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, we know right away now, it's just a saxophone and drums, but that's not classical music, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, you can tell that's not written.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it also is not a steady beat. Maybe he's got a beat in his head and Rashid Ali does too, but what we mean by that, they're not doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, we have to accept it. These guys are moving on now. And swing can mean more than just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And for a lot of students there, man, it's like a, you know, a clap of thunder in their heads, you know. of course, I'm always prepared to deal with that when I say I'm going to have to eat this. Because, you know, to see this guy's going on to a place now where if you really love the music, you have to try to see where is he? Well, he just left you back there in My Favorite Things. And you're still hearing My Favorite Things on the soprano. Trains, the train's already gone.
Yeah.
You know?
He was still playing My Favorite Things
Yeah.
at the end.
For
But
sure, yeah. He told me here out of his own mouth, man. Last time I saw him was at the club here in Los Angeles called the It Club, owned by a black entrepreneur. His name was I.T. Williams, whatever his initials before. And Train had been up in the Bay Area. He was on his way back to New York, so I wasn't going to miss him over there. And he had picked up Raphael, the bass player from the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think he's dead now. And so he had Raphael, Jimmy Garrison, two basses. He had Elvin, then he had Frank Butler from L.A. there, and he had Pharaoh with him. And they were up there, man, and it was just, right? And so one guy was standing there talking to me. He said, "Man, what are you doing?" This is one fan. We were sitting outside on the break. Cause I remember it was hotter than hell. This was in August, I think. And I'm there hanging out, trying, talking all this. So this guy came up and said, "What is it, man? You don't ever play My Favorite Things anymore." Train said, "I love that, man, and I play it often." He said, "I'm tired of it, but I still play it for people who ask me because they love it." He said, "I paid for my house."
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, "Maybe we'll play it when we go back." Of course, he didn't play it. He went back in. He and Pharaoh started off, man. It was just like two wild ducks. And people were going, "Oh no!" That's actually when that just preceded it. Elvin and McCoy saying, "Oh man, we can't hang." But James said, I love that stuff." He said, "But that's it, man." In fact, he said something like that. I don't have it verbatim, but he said, "There's guys out there can play giant stuff better than I can now." He said, "I don't play that anymore.
Yeah.
I already did that." And, it was like a etude, for want of another word. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he said, "Yeah, I just can't keep playing that over and over. So I'm going out there for what I'm feeling, And at that point, you see a lot of people say, "It's not jazz anymore. It's not jazz anymore." So, okay, well, what do you want to call it?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Duke Ellington once. I saw him at a, and this is in the 60s, at a synagogue in North Hollywood. And at the end of the show, they were all out front. These newscasters called him and he was coming out. And he said, "Well, was that jazz that you played in the synagogue there?" And he said, "Let's just call it American music." You know how slick he was. And so the guy said, well, why would you call it just American music?" Duke said, "Well," he was ready. He says, "I wrote it, and I'm an American." Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But you see, he was always ready for people who were trying to, it's like saying somebody asked Louis Armstrong when they're coming from a bad place, said, "Well, it's jazz folk music." You know what they're trying to dethrone jazz. Louis Armstrong said, "I ain't ever heard no horses playing it." That's good, isn't it? Yeah. So now, so I'm saying, yes, that's the only thing you could call what we do is safely call it jazz. It's certainly not traditional classical music.
No.
It's not like, in quotes now, traditional American folk music. It's not like Johnny rowed a boat ashore. Not that, And there's more jazz in what we play, I think, just if you walk in a room and just hear us playing up there, than anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it's not jazz in the tradition that you have experienced it going through the swing and bebop and cool jazz and hard bop or whatever. But I get it all the time. Well, it doesn't swing, and you guys, how do you know where you're going? I said, we don't until we get there, millisecond before we make the move. And that's the beauty of it. You get to, in the words of some writer, I don't know who it was, I think it was Stanley Crouch, he said, the jazz musician is waiting there, and they start to play to ride the wild mare of the moment.
Right.
So whoever said that, man, is worth $1 million. I think that's one of Stanley Crouch's lines, but. And one woman said to me, of course, at Pomona College, with the feminists over in Oak Park Field, she said, "Well, how come it couldn't be the stallion?" I said, "Well, it could be the stallion if you want to." I said, "But the stallion might buck a little different than the mare." I'm just trying to understand the issue there.
How'd you take that?
Oh, yeah. Well, she what do you call it when white people turn red?
Blush.
Yeah, she blushed. Because she didn't want me to address her especially.
Yeah.
But I said in response to that, I said, "Well, see, you came at me, and I just came back at you, but
Yeah.
not being insensitive or being aggressive. So I want you to see that we can't change poetry now. When we talk about the poets talk about the swallows and the swans, we say, well, why didn't you write about a duck? We don't get to do that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is I'd like to see this when you after you get through it.
Yeah.
So,
We might let you see it.
yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of identity, because the group has an identity, we have our individual identities. I've just been kind of fascinated tonight with the embracing of the instruments.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't envision people holding their instruments during
Mm-hmm.
this. Why is this happening? What is the why is this happening? Is this a security thing, or is this a comfortability thing, which is can be different from security? Is this an identity thing? What's the deal with this?
Mm. Well, I don't know, but in a context like this, when we talk about who we are and what we do, this is a biggie here. You know, it's almost like this. This is a performance. It's just this part of the piece that we just played. We didn't play this on it. We just talked. You know.
Yeah, it is part of the performance. It's part of the theater. Actually, having our instruments is part of
Very
the
good.
theater.
And part of what we do is theater.
That was a big part of what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, see, a bebopper, if you said to a bebopper, that got to be really theatrical, what you were doing tonight. The trumpets were up there, they were all choreographing those hats together like dancers. Woo, wah, woo, wah, woo, wah, woo. That's just kind of a lot of entertainment in people. When the beboppers came along, you see, the bebop trumpet players, you couldn't have gotten Dizzy or Miles to record a plunger.
Mm-hmm.
Too close to minstrelsy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the boppers were saying, we don't do any moving around on stage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We don't smile. We don't grin. We don't do anything that would smack
Mm-hmm.
of theater.
Mm-hmm.
Stone-faced, like a granite statue.
Mm-hmm.
We play some hellacious shit, but you're not going to get Max Roach to throw his sticks up in the air and catch him.
Mm-hmm.
Or throw them around his back like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you see, just the art ensemble, 50% of that is theater.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And important, It helped him. It's like when you go on a set now and you're an actor, and these are not my words either. Somebody watching on one of the shows, he said, well now, what gets you going to get into character? This guy's whole wardrobe here gets me going. It was a period piece. And these guys were wearing suits and ties and shirts like men wore in the 20s. That little collar that comes with a little bar underneath it, and those fedoras. He said, "No, when I put on all that stuff, that helps me get into this gangster that I'm playing." So that helps us get into character. To the extent that one of us may say something, and the audience might not be privy to it, but we, it's part of it, and of course we turn it around and maybe bounce it back out, and I consider that the theatrical part of what we do.
So, you guys are, obviously we're doing this for an audience, but there's no audience there. We're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
But we are, in a way, we are doing this for an audience.
Well, yeah, we are, but we're not playing.
No, that's right. But see, the possibility was always there that we might play tonight. We were supposed to be just talking. Any minute I might have said, just because I can't resist the idea of what we into here. It's inseparable. The talking that we're doing now and how we're discovering things as we speak. We've used words tonight in a way that we haven't used them before.
And you're in comedy, not comedy joke, but you're simpatical with what he's saying.
Right, because I think if he's holding his instrument, that actually makes me kind of think, well, I could be aligned
I see.
by holding my instrument.
Uh-huh. All right. Okay, so this is like a Purple Gums thing. Because I didn't envision having an instrument, and but I brought one since you guys are doing it. And,
Yeah, sure.
You know, I can't be out.
And it looks good.
Well,
I'm not talking about this. I'm saying let's say you have.
no, this looks good too, brother.
Oh yeah, I'm no. Go on.
All right.
Let me go where I was going to
Because
go.
I'm
There.
sensitive.
Let's suppose you had that tuba there that's on the left,
Mhm.
and I don't know how you'd be holding it across your lap. That's pretty big. But if it was,
It'd be between my legs.
or wherever it was, that would add to just the spectacle.
Well, you may even have B-roll,
Yes.
which would have your tubas in it. This would be just like these books in the back of this, you know. You could have food in the B-roll.
So it
It's
kind
a
of
set-
sounds
it's
to
like
me
the
like,
setting, you know.
yeah. Sounds to me like you're always strategizing. I am anyway, always strategizing.
Sure.
And I have to change my strategy. Because I was definitely in my mind opposed to instruments. But I've changed my strategy. Because
You change your
we
response.
Yes. 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 Yeah. To me, that has to do with identity, you know. Identity. And who and what you are, you know. It's back to cliches, you know, it's an age-old question. Are you any less Bobby Bradford or Francis Wong if you could never play the saxophone again or the soprano brass instruments again? You know, are you any less who you are if you didn't, you know?
Now, in my own mind, or as I think people see me.
In your own mind.
Oh yes. If doctor said to me, if you play this once more, then you're gonna fall over dead.
Mhm.
And I put the horn down, and I would certainly be a different person.
Yeah, you'd be different, but would you be any less?
That's a hard choice there with words. Would I be less a person?
Would you be less Bobby Bradford? Not less a person, but less Bobby Bradford.
That's a hard one. That's a hard call. Just like Jackie Robinson stealing home. I'm sure glad I wasn't the umpire. When he stole home against the Yankees.
Mhm.
You know? It's a hard call.
What about you?
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's not every moment. I'm not every moment playing the saxophone. So there's lots of moments I'm not playing the saxophone.
So you wouldn't be any less Francis Wong.
No, it'd be a new Francis Wong.
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
I wouldn't be the same one. But then I'm not the same one tomorrow anyway.
So so Red Fox said when one of these guys who was I don't know what you call him, like an ascetic Hindu, like a fakir, said something like, well, you know, every day you're a new person, and the bodies, the cells are falling off and all the producers. So Red Fox said, so the guy that borrowed that money from the bank a couple years ago, he's not here anymore, and I don't have to pay that money back. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in some ways, people do use that defense, right?
You
So
do.
the guy that you loan that money to now, he's just out in the ether someplace,
Yeah.
just floating around some water.
Yeah, he's
So
gone.
I don't owe you that money.
Yeah, they're not gonna fall for it.
The bank will say, it's okay. We don't want your body. We want the refrigerator.
Yeah.
We'll just
Yeah.
come get it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
That's good. Isn't it?
Where do we want to go from here?
No, it's been good.
I think we're at that point.
Are we? Okay, and it says low battery. Low battery.
Yep.
All right.